Machine learning as a science has been touted to solve many problems in this world. And what people still fear is that, is it coming at some cost? There is AI, there is machine learning, and it is being used now pervasively across various systems, apps, in various products, right? But at the other end, there are privacy purists, which are also equally raising the concern around privacy. Thereby, if that information leading to wrong hands, leading to a security threat in the larger sense, how do you then talk to the privacy purists or those who have these security threats and concerns? How do you balance the need for technology to still move on and do the good job? Like a gun can be used for, stopping a crime as well as, creating a crime, both ways. But how do you draw the line, and how do you then pacify the purists?
Yeah, we look at the overall landscape of AI, and when we visualize a world where AI is actually being used in a large number of places, that's what caused us to write down our AI principles. We were the first ones to go and articulate that. And there are 7 principles. We cover aspects of privacy, fairness, security, explainability, scientific excellence, and so on. And we wrote all of those down from this point of view that people who are designing machine learning systems need to be cognizant of those aspects, much like any other engineering discipline, right? If you're in mechanical engineering, mechanics has its own versions of this, right? Chemical engineering has its own versions of this. So as any discipline starts to mature, it leaves the stage of just innovators and goes into early adopters or early majority, the context around it needs to put these kinds of frameworks in place. Right? And the framework we put out was a first kind of blueprint in this regard. I'd also say, going back to the privacy question more directly, people often assume that privacy and utility are on some kind of a trade-off curve. Like you can have one or the other. Right? And as we've been exploring this from the research side, we've begun to challenge that assumption. For example, we've had numerous research results in this field that we invented and started, which we are calling federated learning, where essentially you can build a global machine learning model, like a centralized model, without ever centralizing the data used to build the model. So imagine, there is some aspect of a product that's happening on the phone. The user's data never leaves their phone. Only small privacy-preserving messages, which are hyperparameters of some deep neural network in a privacy-preserving update, are aggregated, and the models are then pushed back, which implies that all users get the aggregate benefit of the patterns that this model learns without compromising any particular user's privacy. And so when new paradigms like this come about, they are not on the standard privacy utility trade-off curve. They start a new curve of their own. Right? And I think it's really important that we as an industry, we as a research community push hard on these aspects. And that's where the field continues to evolve. Like a lot of the conversation around AI often assumes that it's either a solved problem or it's a stagnant field, neither of which are true. Right? It's a very fast-moving field, and every other month, something new crosses thresholds of usefulness. Something we didn't quite understand before is better understood. Mechanics of controlling for other variables become better. And so 5 years from now, you'd look at a field that is way more mature than today and would have a proportionately larger adoption.
So if this field is ever evolving, there is also this clamor that there needs to be some regulatory oversight on it. Because this field is new, the creators do not know what boundaries it will cross if it will, and thereby have larger implications. And why learn it post facto? What do you believe? Should there be certain regulatory oversight as a result of this? Because everyone's learning, and we are all in that exploratory phase of picking up and figuring out, okay, what can be so great about it, how it can change humanity and help humanity at the same time. But also, how do you still let the technology grow? Because sometimes a clampdown on any new technology can actually kill that technology. So is it better that you have some form of regulatory oversight where it's a combination of both government, intellectuals, and even the tech companies involved together deciding what are the guidelines that should be adopted for it.
Yeah, I would say as far as regulation is concerned, if you look at fields that have started from nascent stages and grown over time, I think eventually there is a time where regulation actually makes sense when the patterns are well understood, and then those regulations act as kind of the positive guardrails to ensure quality of products, of systems is well maintained. Premature regulation has the risk of slowing down innovation. So I think it's important to thoughtfully engage
Both the people.
Yeah.
Fair.